Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. Can everybody hear me? Did I just mess? You can hear me? Yes. Affirmative.
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay. Okay.
loud and
Uh,
clear.
yeah. So today we're going to talk about Mel's Hole. So for those of you who don't know about Mel's Hole, it's located in Washington State, and so this. Uh, it was on the property of Mel Waters, and it was about 9 miles west of Ellensburg and Kittitas County in Washington. So apparently, this hole is some kind of ancient lava tube that stretches down all the way, according to Jimmy, 40 miles into the planet, to the regions that are volcanic. So this story begins around February of 1997 when a man identifying himself as Mel Waters appeared as a guest on Coast to Coast with Art Bell. According to Walters, the hole had an unknown depth. He measured its depth with a fishing line that only went 80,000 feet deep. And that was, I guess, he gave up at that point. He also claimed that his neighbor's dog had been seen alive sometime after it was thrown into the hole. According to Waters, the hole's magical properties prompted U.S. federal agents to seize the land to fund his relocation to Australia. Walters made a guest appearance on Bell's show in 1997, 2000, 2002. Rebroadcasts of those appearances have created what has been described as a modern rural myth. The exact location of the hole was unspecified, yet several people claim to have seen it, such as Gerald R. Osborne, as well as we got Jimmy Paine on here. He says he's seen it, and he's going to be talking about that today. The person known as Red Elk, who describes himself as an intertribal medicine man. So he said in 2012 that he visited the hole many times since 1961 and claimed the U.S. government maintained a top secret base where alien activity occurs. In 2002, Osborne was unable to find the hole on an expedition of 30 people. So let's see here. We got a little bit more. Local news reporters investigated claims found no public records of anyone named Mel Waters ever residing. Yeah, so Jimmy can talk about that since he knew Mel. So the media is saying that Mel never existed. According to State Department of Natural Resources geologist Jack Powell, the hole does not exist and is geologically impossible. So maybe Jimmy can comment on that too. A hole of that depth claimed would collapse into itself under the tremendous pressure and heat of the surrounding strata. Powell said an ordinary mine shaft was probably what that was. So today we have Jessica Jones. She is a paranormal investigator and remote viewer in Northwest Georgia. She's focused primarily on Bigfoot research and also on RV. Her team is working with RV, and so she has RV'd Mel's Hole. And so that's why she's going to be here today to help co-host. And we also have, of course, Jimmy Paine. I've had him many times on my show. I've already talked to Jimmy. Let's skip all the nuclear war stuff because almost every time it comes up. So today we're going to be focused on Mel's Hole. And anyway, so Jimmy Paine was Captain Dallas, which was featured in the Alien movie from 1979. That was a documentary. Mostly, they got most of it right. He was also in Cambodia with and that story was based on the Predator movie, the first one. And then he's also been on Mars. He knew Duncan O'Finian. He was on the moon of Titan, the moon of Titan, sorry. And he was stationed at underground base where they met a monster named It. And he was also at the Vandenberg Air Force Base where the Lunar 20 Apollo mission took place with William Rutledge. So Jimmy is quite the Forrest Gump of the disclosure community. All right, everybody. And how's everybody doing? Jimmy, are you there? Jimmy. Okay. Oh, you got yourself muted. So Jessica, go ahead and introduce yourself. Unmute yourself, Jimmy. Okay. Jessica, you there? Oh,
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Great.
Yes, I'm here. We're having some audio issues.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
Jimmy. There you go. Jimmy.
Can you hear me now?
Yay. Welcome, everybody. We're all here. How's everybody doing today?
Pretty good.
I'm great. Yeah, we're good. Thank you for having us on tonight, James.
Yeah, great. So Jimmy, I guess you're going to be the one here to introduce people more about the story, because I just gave a brief background of what's going on. So where would you like to take this from the beginning?
Well, I like to first go back prior to the Mount St. Helens explosion. Those dates are many years prior to the Art Bell show. I'm from Area 51, and I primarily stay inside the military industrial complex, but occasionally they'll send us out to go outside of the industrial complex to investigate paranormal activity. And this one did concern Mel Waters' hole. Now, Mel Waters is a true person. The government, what the government did was very similar to like a witness protection program. If you get into trouble with certain illegal activities, the government go in, they'll wipe your name off, they'll change your identity, and you'll begin a new life in a witness protection program. So what happened to Mel Waters was similar, except Mel didn't, he wasn't involved in any type of mafia activities. What this involved was some paranormal activity going on his property. I and several other MIBs, men in black, went to the property, and Mel at the time was kind of a hippie guy, and he didn't work. He had hobbies that he could earn a little money on the side from, but what he was really doing, he was growing pot. And he had a couple of trailers out there, raggedy trailers. He had hooked up some growing lights, and he would take his plants out and put next to the hole. And when this hole would fire a black beam up into the sky late in the evenings around dusk time, and it would make his plants grow at an astounding rate. But what other activities were going on was you could take a radio, a regular AM FM radio, and if you got near the hole, it would play only old music, like back from the 30s or 40s. It wouldn't play any modern music. It would just play music from, many years prior. That was one of the odd things about it. Now, how I found the property, inside of the city, Ellensburg, there's a home that has and I don't want you to pull a picture up, James, because we may invade somebody's privacy there. There was a tree that had a whalebone in it. Now, the local Indians in that area, when they want to mark something of importance, they'll take a whalebone and put it next to a tree, and the tree will grow into the whalebone. Okay, that's the elder's home. All right, there was another tree on Mel's property that had a whalebone in it as well. So what I did, I took a chainsaw and I cut the tree down. And there was an Indian wheel. James, we may not pull that up because it's identifying the house now.
Well, it's already on public record.
I understand,
Yeah.
but we may not want to do that.
I know, but
Dude,
we're not identifying the house. We're just identifying the tree. I mean, that house
yeah,
could be 1,000
yeah,
places.
that's fine. Um, Let me get back to the um, to the tree on the property. So what I did, I took a chainsaw and I cut down the tree that was on Mel's property, and we took a bulldozer. Now, if you watch the movie Pet Cemetery, where the doctor and a neighbor, they climb up a cliff and uh, they they come across some Indian ruins, a wheel, a stone wheel. It's kind of like a pentagram, but it's like a wagon wheel. And Indians would take stones and make these wheels where you could see it from the sky. So what we did, we took a bulldozer and we pushed all the Indian stones down into the hole because we didn't want nobody to know where this hole was at. Now, Mel said the hole was 9 feet in diameter. I disagree with that. The hole was more like 12 to 14 feet in diameter. So it was a little bit larger than normal. And also, um, I knew we could time it when it would fire a beam up into the sky in the evening. So what we did, we put a tripod over the hole, and we had a winch onto the tripod, and I got into the harness of the harness, and we attached it to the cable, and I was lowered down maybe about 3 stories down, 35, 40 feet down into the hole. And in the side of the wall, the hole, there was like a brick that was missing. And I took a, a wood stick and I stuck into the where this brick was missing. And when I did that, it triggered a switch, and the wall opened up. It was digital. It was electronic camouflage, is what it was. And where there was bricks in the wall, there was suddenly an opening in the wall. So I could, I was able to swing over and grab hold of this hole in the side of the wall and was able to climb through it. And when I got in there, there was a room, I would say maybe 25 feet high or deep, and maybe about as wide as a football field and half as long as a football field. And in there was I would say between 7 to 8 massive generators. Now, these generators were not built by humans. They were very advanced generators, and that was a power source that was causing the beam to shoot. Now, we had an alien extraterrestrial from Area 51 that did come down and got into the to the power room later, and I went back into it when he was there, and he went ahead and disabled the firing of the generators, because we didn't want it to fire. We wanted to make sure we could get down there and study it, and so he was able to shut the generators down. But I have been down in the very bottom of Mel's hole, and it goes down about 30 miles. And down there is it's hollow. it sits between Mel's Hoe sits between Mount Adams and Mount St. Helena, and when a mountain is being formed, it builds up a lot of gas and pressure, and then eventually the lava hits underground lake, and then you have a steam explosion, and it blows the top of the volcano off, like what happened in 1980 when Mount St. Helena blew. Okay, so these lava tubes, there's cavities underneath these volcanoes, and the little grays, this is what they seek out. There's been a lot of reports of UFOs flying into volcanoes, and this is just one example of it.
Oh, is it? So can I start asking you questions?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, why were you even in that area? Were you just there by random, or did you find out about this and you traveled there?
I was ordered to go there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was one of the youngest men in black that ever came out of Area 51. I was drafted into MIBs when I was 17 years old. That's very unusual. And I've been around alien artifacts all my life, ever since I was maybe 4.5, 5 years old. And so what I do, I back engineer. I work on propulsion systems, like on flying saucers, is what I do.
Oh, wow. Did you know David Adar?
Yes, I know him. When he was real young, I hadn't seen him in years, but yes, I know him. I don't know if he remembers me, but I go by several different names.
Oh, wow. Well, let's save that for a future episode. Let's go back here. So establish why you're there. So why did you cut down his whalebone tree, Mel Waters' whalebone tree? Why do you want to do that?
Well, we have Chinese and Russians that follow these UFO groups, and we don't want that information falling into their hands. And we want to be able to study this and learn from it. And that was the reason why I did that.
And that was also part of your briefing, that you knew that they had a whalebone tree? That was your instructions?
No, we found the whalebone tree. We look for things, paranormal things that are out of the ordinary. And for the local tribe that lived in that area, that's how they mark things that are important. I believe through the years that the Indians had seen strange things around the Hoe. Certainly there were animals thrown in there that came back, dead animals, I mean. One of the other paranormal things is that no birds will fly around the Hoe. No live animals will go near it. But people will throw off dead animals into it, and the animals will reappear later alive.
Well, yeah, let's discuss that just a bit. But so, like, if somebody had like a dog with them and they were going up near the hole, the dog would just whimper and cry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Now I don't know if they could hear the generators, the power source below the ground. That's not known to me.
Yeah, that was about 60 feet below.
I would say around about 65, 75 feet below is where the power room was at. And I estimate that, the volcano is probably between 300 to 350 million years old. I believe that it was probably, the little grays probably was there maybe 100,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's the generator there. Okay.
That's the likeness of the generator.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So how many of those generators were there down there?
I would say, of course, it's been over 40 years since I've been down there. I want to say it was 7 generators, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Uh,
So, Jessica, why don't you go ahead and throw some questions in before we move on here? Unmute yourself.
Yeah,
There you go.
well, I actually have a comment. I know my computer's a little glitchy, if you guys can hear me. So I've heard that birds would not fly over this hole. All right, Jimmy, is that something that you experienced over there? Like birds wouldn't go near it? I know you said dogs didn't want to be near it,
Birds wouldn't.
but nothing would fly over this hole.
Nothing. Nothing would fly over the hole.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So what about the black smoke that was coming out? Did you witness that as well?
It wasn't black smoke. It was it's more of a wormhole. It opens up a wormhole. It looks like it's very opposite of light. If you shine a beam of light into it, it would absorb it. It's just a pitch black beam that would fire out of it towards evening time. And if you were between it and the sun, it would just absorb the sunlight from the sun. You couldn't shine a light through it. Okay. And it acts like a wormhole, but we would find money, coins that all around this hole, and it would be different presidents, but presidents that were not elected during that year. All the years were off, and all the presidents were off. So what it is alternative timeline.
Wow. Do you remember any the names of any of these people on these coins, or I guess they had names? Or recognize any of the other people? Coins.
Some of them, yes, but the dates were all off. The meaning of the coins were off. There was also Chinese coins, which I thought was very odd. So I would guess that the little grays were collecting material and bringing it back and studying it. And apparently they were collecting the coins, or either the coins were caught up in this wormhole.
Wow. So where were the coins actually located?
It was in the dirt. You could take your foot and just kick it around, and you may kick up a roll of coins. They were just right below the surface.
Like everywhere?
Everywhere.
Oh wow. Wow, that'd be amazing to
imagine if you were at a water fountain and you threw coins into the water fountain. Well, that was kind of like what was all around this hole. There was coins there, but the dates and the presidents were all off. And there were some people that were presidents that I never even heard of.
Well, give us an example of some of these other people.
James, I don't, you're asking me something that's over 43 years ago.
Okay.
I'm just telling you that the names, some of them I didn't recognize.
Jimmy, do you have any pictures of Mel's hole or any of these pictures saved up from that time, or did they take all that from you?
Everything that we document is classified. There is no pictures. I think there's one floating, one or two floating on Google Image of the actual hole. But I did not. That was not taken by us. That might have been something taken prior to us getting there.
Wow. Here's a comment from Nancy. She says there were a lot of Chinese in North America and the West during the 19th century. Maybe the coins came from this period. What do you think of that? Were they modern coins from a modern year? Were they ancient?
They were from all timelines.
Huh.
From
So
all timelines.
Chinese coins from the 1990s.
From all timelines.
Okay. What year were you here doing this? Do you remember?
It was prior to the Mount St. Helens explosion, so it had to be back in the 70s,
Oh, wow.
mid to late 70s. So Mel Waters' timing is off. Now he went to Australia. They gave him a lot of money, and he went to Australia, and he stayed there. I presume he just got homesick, and then he came back, and he started talking to Art Bell, and then he ended up in an alley with his teeth all pulled out, and needle marks on his arms, and he couldn't really remember anything. So you just can't really take a whole lot for granted when you're listening to him, because he has a memory problem.
Did it look like a grid, like a square grid?
Explain yourself again.
The needle marks was it in a square grid?
James, I don't know. All I know is that he complained to Art Bell on it. Now, Art Bell, I do know that the Men in Black listened to him a lot when he was alive. I think he's deceased now. Am I correct? I think he died a while back of what, cancer?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you ever watch the movie Men in Black, you see him reading through all these supermarket magazines, and well, that's just what we do. I mean, we pick up on anything and everything we can, and we go out and we investigate these abnormal things.
Okay, Jessica, you want to throw some questions in before we move on?
Well, I mean, I have a bunch of questions. I'm sorry, my computer's a little glitchy, so I've got an earbud in watching my YouTube over here too, so I can hear it better. But yeah, so many questions because I did remote view Mel's Hole, and when I picked it up, what I was picking up on was Portal. Okay, Portal, and Project Paperclip, and all sorts of interesting things. Yeah, I was wondering if perhaps there was radiation coming out of Mel's Hole, Jimmy, and what did radiation have to do with this? Because that was part of my data when I remote viewed Mel's Hole.
Well, first off, when you picked up on Paperclip, you were correct. I am part of Paperclip. I am of German descent, and your government took me as a child, and because I am related to a very high-ranking member of the party. Now, as far as the radiation is concerned, the little grays have DNA damage, and they have been exposed to a lot of radiation, but they were not exposed to any radiation around Mel's Hole. Now, the beam that comes out of the hole is not radioactive. It is basically a wormhole. Okay. So I don't know where the radiation is coming from that you're picking up on. I never detected any. There could be some radiation from maybe uranium deep within the earth. I mean, that's possible that the volcano may have stirred up a lot of it. You see what I'm saying? There is a lot of rare earth metals material that's down in that hole, but a lot of it's unexplored. It's very vast down there.
Well, maybe it's the machine that alters DNA. That's the radiation given off.
Well, I think what it does, it affects the cells. Okay, it can make a dead animal come back to life. There's a lot of things we don't understand. I have seen dead people walk. I did a show with Misha Johnson a while back, Night of the Living Dead. That is a very true story. The movie is a little off, but I was there when that happened. So, but we humans cannot bring anybody back to life as of now. Now the aliens can, and that's what happened at Night of the Living Dead. Now, what happened in Mel's Hole? Possibly the machine probably has the ability to do that, but I wouldn't know about the radiation part. I never encountered it with my Geiger counter.
Can you elaborate more about the animals and maybe even people? Were there ever people thrown down that hole that came back?
Well, I know the Indians buried may have buried some of their tribe there in the past because of the whalebone in the tree. The oral history of that tribe, it just goes back so many generations. So, you know, the true history will never be known from the tribal members themselves. The tribal members themselves don't even know.
Well, what about the dog? What happened when they sent the dog down there?
Well, that happened. Well, there was another hole in Nevada, very near Holloman Air Force Base. Now that's the second hole. I've been to that one, and we lowered a sheep in there, and it came back as a seal. We cut it out. It was inside a dead sheep. We took a knife and cut it out of the gut, and it was a seal inside the dead sheep. They had human eyes. Now I was there when that happened, so that's probably what the movie is based on. Is animals come back from the dead, you know. But yes, there's always a lot of strange stuff going around those holes of dead coming back.
Wow. Well, let me share my screen here again. Jessica, you have any questions you want to throw in there? I'll do this. If not, isn't it working?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, the tumor seal, that's what we call that. The tumor seal. That's how the story goes. And also I heard that a man was lowered down in that hole and he lost his mind, is what I heard. But you were also lowered down that hole, Jimmy.
Not the second hole. I was never lower down the one in Nevada.
So that's where this tumor, yeah. Is that what this is right here? Is that what it looked like?
It didn't have teeth like that.
Okay.
It looked just like a regular seal, except the eyes were human. And it had it picked up on, like if I'm talking to you and say like Jessica is just listening, it seemed like the seal was just listening. It was incapable of talking, but it seemed like it understood, or it read our expressions very, very careful.
Wow. Okay. So the people.
So kind of telepathic, maybe.
I got the impression.
No, I was just.
I have communicated with animals
Telepathic.
before. Yes, I have. Now, it never did. I've communicated with farm animals before, but this one did not. It didn't. It didn't communicate with me. Now, it may have chose not to, but it was definitely a new form of life. It's a life form created out of a dead animal. It just rearranges DNA and it emerged.
Okay, so I guess the seal jumps back down to the hole, and
It
what happened?
it
Just
went back into the hole.
and that's it.
Uh,
It just died, or you don't
I
know?
don't know. We lowered some regular ice into the hole. Um, we lowered ice in the hole. We wanted to see was the temperature difference, and the ice came back up. It was blue and it was warm, and it was like charcoal in a way. It gave off heat, and one tribesman in that area took the blue ice home to his cabin, and he put it in his cast iron stove, and it warmed his cabin for about 3 or 4 months till his cabin caved in. His cabin just collapsed, and the stove collapsed into the ground.
Wow. So that ice came from the hole in Nevada.
Yeah, the blue ice. Now I'm understanding there's blue ice and red ice. Now Spark, the Vulcan, I know him. He was rumored to have gotten some red ice. I believe it came from Venus, but not the blue ice. But he got some red ice one time, was similar in nature. I think there was a temperature difference between the two. One was a little hotter than the other one.
Wow. So it looked like ice basically, but it was like it did it glow red, the red version, or it had like a red dye inside of it.
It looked like it looked just like ice. It was blue, but it gave off heat like charcoal. Now,
Could you pick it up with your hands, or is it too
no,
hot?
you couldn't pick it up. Another thing, it would make your skin peel off. It would all your skin. It just dry you out. Like it's like you stuck your hand in a bunch of salt. It just pulls the moisture out of your skin and make your skin peel. That was unusual. Because it's just like you've been out in the sun and got a light sunburn.
So how did the ice get inside there? I mean, what?
We lowered regular ice into the pit. That's what we pulled up. It altered the ice. Somehow, not only can it alter human DNA, it can alter other objects.
Wow. What else did they put down that hole?
Well, we did the ice. We did we lowered the goat down into it.
And what hatched out of the goat?
It was a tumor seal.
Oh, I thought that was a dog. So the
Well,
dog. Oh, so the dog
no.
came back to life. Okay.
No, the movie's based on a dog. It wasn't based on a seal.
Okay.
The movie is not a documentary. Movie is just something. It's like if I gave you an intelligence report. If you went and you filed a Freedom of Information request and you got it in the mail, it came back to you, and parts of that Freedom of Information Act was blacked out, but you could read some of it. But what happens is they'll take that Freedom of Information Act, turn over to like a movie producer, and then the movie producer would just add stuff to it. He'll make up stuff. That's what happened with Pet Sematary. So not just because you watch the movie doesn't mean it's 100% correct. It's based on some parts of it are true.
Jessica, you have any questions you want to throw in there before I move on here? And
yeah. Yes, I'm still listening through my earbud over here on YouTube because of my computer. Yes, you know, I don't have a question right this minute other than when I was thinking about that ice, I'm thinking of like, what do you call that? Dry ice that you put into like a cooler. We might kind of bring it. Was it kind of like dry ice or was this? I mean, it just sounds like radiation ice to me. I mean, if it heated this guy's cabin for months and then his cabin just disintegrated basically. It just feels like, I know I said radiation earlier, but that was a big part of this data when I was remote viewing this. The ice is just so anomalous. It's really cool. I don't know. That's not really a question. That's just a statement. So,
well, the ice will. It's like if you went out into the sun and you just got dried out. I mean, have you ever had your hands just peel, the flesh on your hands peel, and
oof.
you had to get lotion
yes,
and put
dry.
on your hands?
I had eczema once.
Yeah. Well, that's this. The Indian was complete. His skin was peeling all over his body, but it did it in a slow manner. It just didn't happen all at once. But you could put a flower in a vase and put water in it, and there'd be no water in the vase, and then the flower would be dried out. You know, if you had something made out of plastic, it's like the plastic is real brittle. You know, it would crack and break. It just drew all the moisture out of the air. It dried everything out. It make the timber dry rot. You know, it pulls all the moisture out around it. But it's a low heat.
Where is it now?
When the cabin collapsed in, we went out there. What we did, we poured some water. We took some chains, some tow chains, like you tow a trailer truck with, and we threw the chains down by the pot belly stove, and then we poured water into the hole. Well, the little ditch where up underneath the cabin, because it was sinking into the earth. And then it was a big block of ice at that point, and the record just strained. We like to never go. We had to get about 2 or 3 tow trucks down there just to pull up maybe about 6 or 7 feet of this ice out of the ground, and we hauled it back to Area 51 for study.
So it grew in size?
Yes. Just like you add water to an ice cube and it gets bigger.
It was absorbing the atmosphere around it?
It was when we poured
moisture in that.
When we poured water onto the little bit of blue ice, it amplified itself. It absorbed it.
Wow.
And it was a bigger block of blue ice.
All right. So let's go back to this hole.
Wow.
Do you know what is the name of this hole in Nevada where this was taking place?
There is no name for it. We just, it's just it's on a reservation. It's near a resort, like a wildlife management area. I'm unable to give out the location because it's classified. But the one in Nevada had a metal ring around it, and you could put your hand on it. It was slightly you could put your hand on it, felt a little warm. You could take a hammer and hit it, would make no noise.
Wow. Okay. So in this particular hole, how far did you have to send the ice down? Or do you remember, or do you know?
Interesting.
Remember?
About the same distance, maybe about, 50, 60 feet down is where we let the ice down.
Okay. And is that hole, is there also generators down there as well? Like at Mel's hole?
I did not enter that hole.
So we don't really know what's down there. Nobody probably knows.
Well, we were still studying the first hole to understand it. Now there's actually a third hole in Canada. It's called Kimberly's Hole.
Oh, wow. Are
There's
you familiar with that, Jessica? Have you heard of Kimberly's Hole?
No, I've not heard of Kimberly's hole. Now, I called the second hole Mel's hole number 2. Okay, that's what I called it.
Well, it's not on. It's not.
Yeah, I do have a question. Actually, this is backing up a little bit though. Okay, can I ask a question real quick? And this has to do with the tumor cell, because from what I remember, the story being is that the tumor cell was communicating through a radio frequency, and it was giving messages to Mel. Now, I'm not sure if I'm remembering that correctly or not, but like there was music from a previous era coming through the radio frequencies on radios, but it was communicating with somebody through an AM radio station. Are you familiar with that, Jimmy?
We did bring a radio out there, but the part about Mel claiming that it communicated with him, you have to go back and look at some of the statements that Mel has made. One, when you go back to his original hole, he said it was 9 feet in diameter. It was more like 14 feet or so in diameter. Then he says he can't remember anything, and he woke up in an alley. So his story is broken. Now, whether the seal communicated with him is unknown. But you have to remember, Mel has no remote viewing abilities. I do. So I would have a tendency to kind of, where you got the information. Right. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that is inaccurate. So I would have a tendency to kind of disregard that, what you heard.
All right. So were you there when the dog came back to life?
There never was a dog, James. That's in the movie. I was there when the sheep was lowered into it.
At Mel's hole. That didn't happen at Mel's hole?
That did not happen at Mel's hole.
Okay. All right. So that
is part of the movie.
All right. So, and apparently Mel has also said that because that's also part of the research on it. So let's go on here. It says, others claim portable radios held close to the hole's entrance would play programs and music from the past.
True.
And do you remember what you saw or heard, or did you witness that?
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of music or what did you experience with that?
I heard music from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It old music. You can have it on a modern AM, FM station, and then it would just cut out and it's just start playing old music, and you hear old commercials, from the past. because usually in the past they gave, old commercials on the radio.
And were these from alternate realities, you think?
I believe they were definitely from different timelines.
Well, did you hear any broadcasts in Japanese from an alternate reality where
I didn't hear.
World War II?
I didn't hear any Japanese broadcast. Now I did find Japanese coins.
Because the Japanese controlled the West Coast when the America lost World War II in that other timeline.
Well, I have a tendency to believe that that's probably true, but I'm dealing with what I picked up at Mel's Hoe. Now, Mel took some of those coins and he made belt buckles out of them, and he sewed the belt buckles. I also had some of the coins, but they got away from me through the years. Like I said, I would not have presented you with a coin if I had it in my possession, because that is all information, all physical information and material has been turned over to Area 51 for study.
Right. Similar to, there was a coin found in Mexico that said what the American Reich, and it was dated in like 2032. You know what I'm talking about? You seen that coin from the future?
James, I have not. I've been into the alternative future. Planet of the Apes is a good example. I've been to the future where there's apes running around. So nothing surprises me.
All right. I'm just trying to pull it up. Let's see if this will work. Okay, here it goes. All right. In 2018, a man named Diego Aveles discovered a mysterious coin with the year 2039 imprinted on it. The coin features a Nazi, I can't say that, I shouldn't say that word here anyway, as well as the words Nouvelle Alemania, which translates into New Germany. Some say it's a hoax, while others claim it's proof of a parallel universe. 2039. So, all right, well, I guess we can move on here. Unless
oh my gosh, I gotta say, you guys, and I was gonna comment on this. Part of my data did involve the Nazis. It said it was like Nazis and Project Paperclip and things like that. So that,
well,
it makes sense. That's all I'm saying.
When Montauk, when I was at Montauk, the South actually won the war, and Germany and the United States never went to war in World War II. It was Germany and Britain, okay, that went to war. And the Americans stayed out. So, but, that's what I'm getting at, is that when we tinker with time, the timelines, we get into other dimensions here.
All right. Well, let's move on to, someone was asking, what is the purpose of the hole? I guess more specifically, why was it created? Why is it there? What can you tell us about it?
It was created by the volcano and the tectonic plates, the Pacific plate going underneath the North American plate. We have what you call the Ring of Fire. It runs all the way down the west coast of the United States. It runs up to Canada, crosses over, and runs down, Russia. Titanic plates, the Pacific Rim of Fire. So it's natural. This is just a lava tube. It's a vent hole in between two volcanoes that came up, and So it's formed naturally. And the little grays, they found it, and they're the ones that at one time had a base in it. You have to remember the little grays are a dying race. So as our numbers dwindled, the base was just basically abandoned.
So that base was built with the generators, with the brick wall. Was that built by the Grays?
I believe the brick wall was probably laid at recently. And when I say recently, I believe it was laid sometime when people started going west, moving west. Okay.
So there was maybe some group of, well, maybe connected to the Vatican that was destroying evidence of giants, destroying adobe structures, showing where giants lived, and evidence of alien extraterrestrials before the people got here.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
What I said was the bricks, they weren't modern, but they were bricks there. I believe at one time, maybe, whoever lived on the property, the hoe might have been wider, like a funnel, and stop the erosion. Somebody probably got there and started bricking around it and filling it back up around it. Okay.
Yeah, but there would have been those weird effects. You wouldn't really want to go down the hole. You would come back mutated.
Well, I
From
said
building a brick wall.
it fired sometimes.
Okay.
It fired usually towards dusk. People don't work in the night. You see what I'm saying? I can't explain why there were bricks there, James. I can only tell you what happened when I got there. Okay, maybe the little Grays came here, and the little Grays put the bricks down. I can't tell you what happened.
Can you explain why did the Grays like these lava tubes? Why do they set their bases up around these?
Because they fly all these planets, and on Zeta Reticuli, there's a lot of radiation on the surface of that planet, so they know instinctively they live in caves. Okay, they live in caves, and this is just natural for them. And so they go from planet to planet. There's probably bases on Mars that are lava tubes, and they know they see a volcano, they start looking. They're looking for a new home.
Jessica, anything you want to add before we move on to the next question?
Yeah. I was going to ask Jimmy, what exactly do you mean by firing? When Mel's hole fires, what does that mean?
When I'm saying firing, I mean it towards dusk. It'll power up and send off a black beam out of it. Now, I believe that when the planets align, it fires more often, because it's when you go to terraform, you're going to go from one planet to the next planet. And when our planets and our around, our planets start to align, like Mars and Jupiter and Venus, that's when a lot of UFO activity goes on, because they're jumping from planet to planet. Now, when the planets are not aligned, just periodically, the Mel's hoe would test fire, okay? But when the planets align, they know there's a lot of activity, and then the powering up of this wormhole starts up more active. The generators come on more, is what I'm saying, when the planets align.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's discuss about the whole in the current period. Or maybe we back up here. So Mel got an offer, or maybe he was forced, told he had no choice. They're going to give him money, and he take his property, like eminent domain kind of thing.
Mel
He went and
didn't
started a
really
wombat farm, right?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Look, you got a guy that's a hippie, okay? He doesn't really have any skills. He's sitting around, you know, he's out in the country, and there's a hole there, and he smokes his dope. People pull up, hey, I need to dump a refrigerator or an ice freezer here. And he says, yeah, give me a couple of dollars. You just pull back here and dump it. Okay. And so he made money that way. And his wife, she worked for a university. Now I think she might have been into nursing, like a home health care, but I wasn't real sure. I've met her before, but when money is offered and you don't have any, you say, "Wow, I've got money coming in now, and I'm going to move to Australia." He didn't know anything about wombats, He just old hippie. But now when he got over there, he had cancer. He had stage 3, stage 4 cancer, and he claimed that he was healed by the hoe. Now I have a tendency to believe that. So that part is true. I do believe that the firing of the hoe cured his cancer. I do believe that.
Did he have to? Do you know if he had to be like inside the hole when it fired, or did he have to just be near the hole?
He was near the hoe, and you have to remember he has smoked a lot of dope, and I'm not saying that that's what caused his cancer, but he was in bad shape. He had stage 4 cancer, and when he got back, we got in Nevada. He was coming around the hoe, and during the time that the tumor seal came out. So I do believe what I observed. I do believe that it did that it cured the cancer. It cured his cancer.
Well, did you get any effects by being in the presence of the hole?
When I went into the first hoe, I knew the firing sequence. I wouldn't go into if I knew it was going to fire. I knew it would fire at a certain time. So what I did, I was lowered into it and, got into the power room. And that's when I discovered the generators in the first hoe. But when it would fire, yeah, I'd be around it, but I would not be in it. Okay. I was as close to the hoe as Mel was, which is a few feet away. And like I said, I do believe it did cure his cancer. But you'd have everybody in forget North America. You have everybody in the world going to the hoe that had cancer wanting a cure, So it has to be studied. It has to be studied.
What about this? Did the emissions affect the wampus?
Repeat it again.
Just read the screen. Yeah, censor. Yeah, censor.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, I think it did because the plants, the THC was dripping off of the leaves. And what Mel was doing, he had the old trailers that he had on his property, he had growing lights in there. And when the sun was down, he had all these lights on the plants. But during the day, he would take the plants out and water them and towards dusk, the hoe would fire up. It would, the black beam would come out. So it was just like fertilizer to the THC, the cannabis. I mean, it was some powerful smoke,
All right. Well, let's go on here. It's moving on here more. So you were mentioning, metal hold close to the hole's 9-foot diameter opening would change to other metals. What can you say? What can you comment about that one?
Now, what now?
Metals would change into other metals or substances. Did you experience that near the hole?
I didn't experience any of the metal changing. Only the ice is what I observed changing.
All right. So
and the pot,
Oh, this right. Here we go. All right. Checks by local news reporters later found no public records indicating a Mel Waters lived in a canal or even existed, and also the wife who worked at CWDW, our own rural property. So they go. So the government offers them money, I guess, and then they just get wiped out of even like birth certificates, records, all gone.
It's just like the witness protection program. They wipe every existence of you, and you start over with a new name and a new life.
Okay. Some people are commenting about that, like, oh, well, we can't find it. Yeah, so that's the answer there. All right, here, let's move on here. Do you know anything about this Red Elk guy?
Yes, I knew him.
Okay, what can you tell us about him?
He was in on it with us. Red Elk is what you call a spotter. He lived in the area. He was a half-breed. And what he would do, you come out there, you pay him some money, he'll take you on a tour, and he'll lead you around and lead you in the opposite direction, and you never would find it.
Oh, wow. I guess, okay. I guess why you gotta have to psychic out on the team and not depend on locals. All right, let's see here. More questions from audience members. We have when the fire machines is that causing trumpet sounds in the sky? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Hold on, let me read this.
The trumpet sounds that we hear in some of these videos.
First of all, when this thing fires up, it made no noise. Now, as far as the trumpet sounds in the sky, what that is, those are satellites with acoustic horns on them, and they test it. It goes under Project Bluebeam, and they'll shoot a projection up into the sky, and it have the face of God, and God will say, "Lay down your arms." You know what I mean? I am the Lord and the Savior. So you can have a hologram in the sky. Just recently, the Chinese reported an entire city was floating in the sky. That is part of Project Bluebeam. And but the horns are from low orbiting satellites.
All right, moving on here and getting near, I guess probably near the end of this, and then we'll start showing the remote viewing data. Can you explain how deep these holes are, and also why it didn't collapse, like as comparison to say some other holes on this planet or boreholes?
When a lava tube is being formed, the molten lava coats it. Okay, it's like cement. It's like black glass. Okay, that's it. It's a real rigid tube. So it doesn't need to be reinforced.
Oh wow. Yeah, these geologists are out there. Oh, well, it can't possibly collapse itself under tremendous pressure and heat from the surrounding strata. Okay. So yeah. All right. Well, how about this? Let's discuss what happened after the government got a hold of the property. what did they do with the hole? Did they build an experimental research facility over it?
James, that's classified. I can't. That's what we say, plausible deniability. You're getting to some very sensitive information there.
Well, can you comment if they put a concrete cap on it, or is it?
That's
you can't say
plausible
that?
deniability.
Okay.
You're too close to an answer.
Okay.
I'm pulling a red elk on you.
Okay. Okay. Well, so Jessica, do you think we should go ahead and go into the remote viewing data now? This is a good point. You want to share your data?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, the part of my data that I'm going to share tonight with everybody, I had 2 targets, and I did one target. I was assigned I was assigned 2 targets. One was Mel's hole, the other was the tumor seal. Okay. And James and Jimmy, I did not go over the tumor seal data with you guys yesterday when I talked to y'all. So it's very interesting. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go over all my sensory data. I'm just going to tell you some of the analytic overlay. That's me trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Okay. And I'm going to read you off some of the words that I wrote down for Mel's hole. Okay. Because I find it quite interesting after we hear what Jimmy's telling us tonight. Okay. So some of my data was radiation, reality combined, explore, outside the realm of possibilities, cryptic, paranormal, mixed up, wormhole, dimensional, conversion, convergence, space and time, and a portal. Okay. I also was picking up on a deep dive, existential, the fray, free fall, hell, the void, inner earth, parallels, unholy, Nazi, Hitler, Project Paperclip, and interdimensional, space travel, time travel, bending time, government program cover up, regenerative, CERN, switch dimensions, quantum physics, biolocate, and an address. Okay, those are the words. Like when I do coordinate remote viewing, and that's some of my analytic overlay that I wrote down for that target, which I found very interesting because a lot of that has to do with exactly what Jimmy was telling us.
Well, we all were
now we can just jump over to the tumor seal.
Well, we all were part of Paperclip, so you were correct on that.
Oh wow. Okay. So did you want to go to? Do you have like another page to share? Is that what you want? Like,
yay!
To talk to. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the tumor seal. I can just do my data just to save some time. It's pretty interesting. So for that one, I'm just going to go over my analytic overlay. I know it's remote viewing is about the sensory data, right? But I'm just going to talk about some of this analytic overlay because I thought it was interesting because I was picking up on a hybrid parallel universe, interdimensional host body was one of my words, a host body, journey to hell. Okay, I picked up hell in both of these. So what? I guess that's relative, right? But journey to hell, men in black. Okay, space cadet, time jump, back in time, interdimensional. I got the Alien movie. I wrote down Alien movie. So Jimmy, that's interesting, right? The Alien movie and the chest alien is what I was picking up on. That thing that pops out of the person's chest.
Oh,
that's what I was picking up on in my data.
Picking up on Jimmy Paine. He was there.
Yes, I was in the
operation. I was 100%.
I was in the operation.
That's wild.
Of the Nostromo when the xenomorph popped out of the chest of one of the crew members. I'm Dallas.
Okay, that was in my remote viewing data, Jimmy. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so it was Alien movie, the chest alien is what I wrote down. Okay, and needs a host body is what I wrote. I wrote host body twice. Intelligent form, molecular, Chinese. Okay, you mentioned Chinese, like Chinese coins and stuff. I wrote down Chinese, outer space program. And then I wrote down Slimer from Ghostbusters. That was one of my other things I wrote down. But that's what I was picking up on and what I was seeing. So how odd is that I made that connection with you, Jimmy, who I'm talking to right now, and in the chest alien out of that movie. The one that popped out of that guy's chest.
I've been to Fort Meade. That's where we would stare at goats, remote viewing. I would say that you would probably be a candidate for
wow,
that program. The movie that's
wow.
in the men that stare.
Okay, can I tell you guys when my remote viewing data is actually dated June the 10th of 2022. That's my so that was last year. I did it. It was almost a year ago to the day, almost to this week. I remote viewed this 1 year ago.
I would say
so this
you're
is
pretty
not recent. I just met you yesterday.
I would say you're pretty accurate.
Oh wow.
I'm impressed. I impressed myself. Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you.
Jessica, do you have more to share? Any more pages?
No, that's really all I wanted to talk about was just some of my analytic overlay information from my target. And this has been a treat. I mean, it really has, because my friend Barry Littleton, and I see Barry Everson in the chat tonight. What's up, Barry? Barry Littleton's in the chat too. I don't know if he's made some comments, but I know he's watching. It was Barry who assigned me this remote viewing target. Oh, wow. Yes. And so I want to give him credit for that.
Has Barry remote viewed it too?
No, Barry does. Barry is the one who he tasked me targets. I've taught him how to task me coordinates. And so he's the one who gives me the coordinates and assigns me these targets. And so, so I give a credit to Barry. He assigned this target to me and my friend, Tanya Braddock. Also, she and I both remote viewed it. We did a show on it on my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. And we got very interesting data. Tanya got similar data to me, but she really connected with that tumor cell.
Oh, like she was communicating with it to that point?
Telepathically. Yes.
Can you do you remember what she said? Do you remember?
Yes.
Can you tell us, or is that confidential?
It talked to her for like a week.
Oh no.
So,
well,
I don't know. I have to ask her. I don't remember. It was weird.
I have communicated with animals, but I have to be in close contact with the animal or around another person. If I walk, it's called precognition. If I walk past you in a crowd, I could pick up on what you're thinking, but I have to be close to you to do it. Now, at one time when my skills were at the very height, there could be, say, a trailer truck going down the road loaded with merchandise, and I would know every bit of merchandise in that truck as it drove down the road. And that's how I was picked and brought to Fort Meade. We would all sit in chairs, and they would take a fish aquarium, and they take a balloon and fill it with ink, and lower the balloon into the fish aquarium, and we would think we want the balloon to bust, and that's simulating a heart attack. So some of us were trained to stare at people to make them have a heart attack, and that's how the movie The Men That Stare at Goats came about. But only very few people, maybe about 4 or 5 out of that whole class, had that unique ability.
Yeah, wow. There's so much more. I know you created the Montauk Monster. It wasn't Duncan Cameron. Well, maybe Duncan Cameron was operating the opening up the portal, and then but you helped. It was your idea. I don't
Well,
know.
the first one was my idea. Now Duncan picked it up uh, after me, but if you watch the movie Forbidden Planet, that was my first one that I created when I was on Titan, and if you watch the movie Forbidden Planet, that was my first one. Now the one that was at Montauk looked more like a Bigfoot. I had just came off of a Bigfoot hunt in which we took down a Bigfoot, and I was about 7 or 8 years old when they put the band on my head. And when I thought of Bigfoot, there he was in the control room, and he knocked over some of the computers. Everybody ran out, and the door slammed shut. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and nobody get inside the building. And that's when Preston Nickel had to climb the tower and cut the cable feeding the antenna to the computers. So, you know,
Hey, Jimmy, why don't you tell the public about what's going to be happening this summer connected to Montauk?
well, I was on the Eldridge. That is the ship that teleported through time, and I was there when the men got stuck in the steel, and we still have. Uh, it's coming back every 20 years. The signal bounces back, and if I had the right backing, um, I would return and I would go onto the ship and um, get the men off. And but I would have to have assurance that there would be hospital beds for the men, um, and that I have a very advanced craft that's stuck in the side of the ship. I need to fly it to Area 51 for study, and I'm the only one that can do that. So it'd be a shame if the date comes and goes, and that
Wow.
that opportunity passes by us.
So Jimmy has talked about this before. We did a whole episode of what happened with the Eldridge, and I think this was maybe back during the winter time. We were trying to find a sponsor to fund this, but nobody wanted to send a message or anything. So no sponsor. So there's probably, at this point, I don't know if we'll be able to get anything together, but maybe we could put a small team together that can go up there. But the problem is we need to know an exact date. I know Preston has mentioned a date before in some of his presentations. However, that date changes every 20-year cycle. Is that correct, Jimmy?
Well, we have leap years built into it. My main concern is not to make a movie out of it. That's been done. My concern is to get the men off and get them in some hospital beds. And I have a very advanced craft that needs to be studied. And this craft is like nothing ever has Area 51 encountered. This is more advanced than advanced, and I can fly it, and it needs to be studied.
So we were considering possibly maybe someone from the Bigelow Airspace or Elon Musk. Maybe if somebody knows those people, could shoot them over to this video and say, hey, maybe we can do a corporate sponsor. But yeah, but I think the thing is we need the date. That's the problem. So I guess somebody's gonna have to be out there beginning around July 16th, I think, or 17th up into August. Is that probably for October?
Well, James, we, like I said, leap years built into it. I'm not here to make a movie. I'm not here to go on stage to give a lecture like Al Bielek. I saw what happened to Al Bielek, and Al Bielek and Preston Nichols. They just went around and people looked at them. They made fun of the men. The men never did achieve what they wanted, and I don't like the fact that I look up and see a movie made about me without my consent. So if somebody wants to pick up and sponsor us, fine, but it goes back to Area 51 for study. If you're a politician, don't waste my time. I'm not going to give you the time of day. But if you're looking for advancements in computers and propulsion systems, and plus the medical aspect of it, the issue of cancer, we have a lot to learn, and nobody can teach that to us. We have to learn it on our own.
Oh, thank you. Jessica, you want to comment on this? About the Montauk? I mean, maybe, I know it's probably need another 3 hours to go in. Anyway. Oh, can we hear you? There you are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it. So yeah, I'm right here. I'm sorry, I was muted. I didn't want any background noise.
Were you aware of
I don't know.
The Eldridge was reappearing every 20 years. Mm-hmm. Did you know about that?
Yes. I've heard about that. Absolutely. And the Philadelphia experiment, you know, I mean, I've heard all about it, but this is all fascinating to me. I didn't, but you know, I've been so immersed in time travel talk lately, and time manipulation and time edits and all this stuff that has to do with timelines and timeline splits. It's all coming to a head at this point. I do feel like we're on some weird janky timeline right now that we're not even supposed to be on. And so, you know, if we can go back and change things like that, and help people that need help, and get this timeline manipulation under control, because somebody's manipulating our timelines big time. And I know about the Project Pegasus, and I know Jimmy, we talked about that yesterday, and Project Looking Glass. I mean, there's people that are able to change these things, and if we can go towards the timeline for the highest good of all mankind, we should be doing that right now.
We can do that, but we have to get the politicians out of it. There's not an election held that the politician is not picked.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to ever vote, because your vote means nothing.
Hold on, Jimmy. I had a video deleted for election, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, blah, blah. So, yeah.
Well, we're not naming any names here. We're just saying any politician. We're not naming any names.
All right. Well, I tell you what, if you have a desire to participate in to go to Montauk this summer, shoot me a message. Maybe we could put a team together. Maybe we could get Jimmy to come up. Maybe, I don't know, Jimmy, if you need some money, well, maybe we can put a GoFundMe together. I'll talk to you after this, and I'll put a link in here. But I wanted to go back, finish up the Mel's Hole. I have one more. I have an email from my friend Craig. I was trying to work a way to get him on here, but I wasn't able to get a hold of him in time. So when he watches this, I'm sure he would give me permission to share this, because he was already scheduled to come on here anyway. But is that okay, Jimmy? We finish this up? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So hold on a second here. I'm scrolling. Okay. James, I just saw your show with Michael Jaco and the gang. I stopped by your site to check it out. Nice site, by the way. I came across Mel's Hole article. I only live about 15 miles from the hole. It's actually located opposite of the Yakima Military Training Center. I'm sure Jaco has trained there at some point. When I worked at the training center fire department, the research station director at the time talked about the hole and its location. If you're interested for more information, just let me know. I have a military background. Okay, let's go on here. I don't have any personal pictures of the hole, but from research I located, 80% sure the location of the hole. We were told by the research station director at the time that the hole had been covered with a large concrete cup cap, which was also filled with water and covered with local fauna to blend it with the surroundings. He said the hole did have some unsettling characteristics about it. He didn't go into much detail. I later spoke with a couple of tribal leaders from the local Indian reservation who said the hole has been there for thousands of years and has been used as a doorway to an underground city of a reptilian race of beings. They said it is completely void of any sound, meaning if you yell down the hole, there is no echo of a sound return. Is that true, Jimmy?
Yes. Well, the echoing part, the other part, no.
Okay. They went on to describe it as an evil place. Not even animals would go near it, and if you stay around the hole too long, you begin to feel its effects on your body. They described the feeling as if some force was pulling on your spirit, trying to pull you into the hole. I'm sure you've listened to the radio broadcast Mel made back in the 90s and Coast to Coast, where he tells of discovering the hole while walking with newly purchased land and stumbling across the hole. He states that he used around 80,000 feet of heavy fishing line. Yeah, we went at the large weight at the end and never found a bottom. He went on to say that he and some of the people living around him used it as a trash dump. He said that he was paid over $6 million by the government and forced to leave his land. So Craig also remote viewed this, and this is what he said. He sent me some sketches. I can show you the sketches, but let me just go ahead and read this real quick. Okay, I have remote viewed the hole, and I have to say it was one of the toughest places I've ever remote viewed. I've attached sketches I made of this 90-minute session. And he says he was blown away by the massive size of this cavern city and makeup of the structure itself. I believe this is some sort of portal doorway, one of thousands. I say this because of the energy layer that covers a large portion of the hole and the black beam that emits, despite being covered at times from this generator-type device located in the center at the bottom of the hole. I have seen this beam once several years back while working at the training center on a large fire during the night. It was the weirdest event I've ever seen yet. It lasted about 5 to 10 seconds, but looked like a large black, transparent-looking pipe shooting in the air. I recall it being a full moon that night as well, which is why I think it was so easy to see. After all the research I've done over the years, I think this hole may actually exist and has been around quite some time. I sense it's much like the hole they found in the Skinwalker Ranch, where they dumped hundreds of gallons of water down it and found no outlet, nor did they find a true bottom. And okay, so I guess that's basically it. I can show you. Do you want to see the picture? I mean, I'll show you the pictures. Okay, hold on. Since he's not here to interpret, I was having trouble reading the handwriting, but some says hive looking dark, smells bad. Did it smell bad in there, Jimmy?
There's no smell in there.
Okay.
Can't get no air in there.
All right, I'm not sure what since he's not here to explain it, but we see some kind of bugs all over the walls with pinchers.
No.
Okay, so maybe that's deep down into it.
Looks like a chimera.
No,
yeah,
like that.
Bot like something on size, microwave humans, very human around it, several bottom of the hole. Some kind of looks like a room conditioner. Maybe these are the generators. Are those the generators?
Generators
are
not
a generator.
Hole. The generator's not at the bottom of the hole.
I don't think he said it was it says here maybe at the bottom of the hole but anyway, let's go on. Black mist like fog, lots of bugs here, forms toward top of the end of tunnel. No sound at all. Gray, white, smooth, shiny, slimy wings. Maybe this is the this might be the seal. I think that's probably what he's doing here. Did the seal? Well, I guess
tumor seal.
Did it have antenna?
It didn't have antenna or teeth.
Okay. Big lips, no teeth. Yeah, this guy said no teeth. So, all right. Okay, so that's that. Let's go ahead and close it. So, any final comments on that?
I hope he doesn't try to make a living lecturing on it. I mean, I already know where it's at, and it's possible he might have seen a beam, but other than that, he's pretty much off on everything. I believe he did see something, but his remote viewing is too far off.
And the beam. So even though there's I guess you can't really tell us what's on it right now, but let's say theoretically there was something on top of it to cover it up. So would that stop the beam, you think? Theoretically,
that's plausible deniability.
Okay. Okay.
I know where it's at, and it's under study. That's all that I can tell you.
All right, let's go to the last comments here. Somebody was mentioning the Greys had built in the lava before the freeze cataclysm 12,000 years ago. They have given the First Nations Indian shelter when the ice cap covered the north. What kind of ET groups are associated with this hole? Probably, I guess we associated the Greys, maybe reptilians, and humans too. I guess.
I've seen Greys, and I've seen the actual species. They're Greys, but they look kind of a chalky white. The ones that came out of the Roswell crash. I've seen one of those. That I'm not saying the one that did come out of the Roswell crash. I'm saying one of the species that was in the Roswell that's similar to the Roswell crash. He was the one that was down into the power room when I went in there, and he was able to, disable some of the generators.
Wait. So when you went into that power room, there wasn't a Grey down there too?
The first time there was nothing in the room, just me. And then when I returned, they had gotten one of the extraterrestrials that went down into it, and I met him down there the second time I went into the power room. I've been in the power room twice.
Wow. Well, yeah, I wish you mentioned this earlier. Could you tell us, did you communicate with the beam?
Yeah.
And what did it say? What did it tell you?
Well, it knew how to operate the generators. It knew more about it than I did.
Well, did the beam say why it was there? Why are these generators at this spot?
Plausible deniability.
Okay. All right. Jessica, you want to throw some questions in?
Classified.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on here.
Oh my gosh. No, I mean, I don't have a ton of questions. I mean, listen, if I asked all my questions, we'd be here all night actually. So I'm just going to, to save us about 4 hours. I'm just going to say that, with my data, and yes, I do have a channel. I'm the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. I do have a channel, and I have a website, thecryptidhuntress.com. So you guys can find all my shows there, and Spaced Out Radio too on YouTube. But when I was remote viewing this, I was picking up on the wormhole and it being a portal, and my friend Barry Littleton was concluding with some of my data that it could have been like a Tipler cylinder, and so that we were kind of going with it. We were thinking it was some sort of like time travel, hole or something. So I don't know. I just think that this is all so fascinating. And Jimmy, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and for allowing me to be a part of this. This has just been fantastic. Mel's Hole is the #1 watch show on my channel for my remote viewing targets. I think that there's a huge interest in this because it's so weird. And so, James, thank you for having me here tonight, and for allowing me to be a part of this.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Jimmy Paine, for coming on here. Thank you, audience members, for all your great questions. And the chat here was pretty civil tonight. I guess this topic isn't as triggering as some of the other topics that come on here. But so I guess to learn more about Jessica, the link is in the description for your website, also your YouTube channel. We'll put the link in there after this. And then Jimmy, I guess you don't have a website or anything. Do you want people to contact you?
If they want to contact me, they can contact me through you.
All right.
I will not meet with the public. I'm only interested in a sponsor.
Okay. Shoot me an email to send a message, and we'll work on the GoFundMe thing for the Montauk. And anyway, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Is that a given? Ready to call it a day, a night, wherever you may be? Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will all see you later.
Absolutely. This has been awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. See you all later. Bye-bye. Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.